Well, I think I'm very blessed here today. I have the Lieutenant Governor right here with us on the line this morning. She's been very busy. She's wearing two hats now. She's still the Lieutenant Governor, and she wants to be the governor for the great state of South Carolina. How are you doing, Pamela Evette?
I am doing great, Ann. It is a little bit busy, but I like being busy. You know what they say? If you stay busy, you can't get yourself into trouble. So I stay busy all the time.
I know.
That's what my parents used to tell me. My parents used to tell me that growing up all the time. If you stay busy, then you'll be okay.
Right. And so what have you been doing?
So, been all over the state as usual. We've had some amazing business openings. So in Georgetown, Zelmet has opened their facility, and they are an Italian-based company. So people that tell you that Trump's tariffs aren't working, that is not true, because we're seeing more and more excitement with foreign companies, whether it be in Germany or Italian, like with Zelmet, coming and trying to put, brick and mortar right here in South Carolina and in our great nation, right? So they understand the power that this president is going to bring back to American companies. And so I've been out there yesterday, and was a great day. Everybody probably remembers the young man that was fighting brain cancer. He was a guest of President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump at the State of the Union address. When I heard his story, and, I was inspired by just his upbeat nature. And then my heart hurt a little bit when not one Democrat would stand up and recognize him and all he has gone through. And so when I heard that his mission was to be deputized in every state across this amazing country, I had my staff reach out to the White House to get his father's information. And yesterday, DJ Daniels was here in South Carolina, and it was wonderful. And before I could even get the request out of my mouth to Chief Keel, he had already said yes, that he would love to deputize him as a SLED agent here in South Carolina. And so him and his dad flew in on Tuesday. And the one thing DJ wanted to do is he wanted to see the Columbia Zoo.
Well,
and
that's cool.
It is, and they opened they kind of rolled out the red carpet for him, and he got to feed giraffes and pet rhinos and see all the cool behind-the-scenes things that the zoo has to offer. And so we had a great morning at the zoo, and he had lunch, and then headed over to SLED, where he got the royal treatment. He was sworn in, received his badge, got to meet everybody. But, Ann, he was an inspiration to all of us. Through the entire day, he hugged everybody he met. If you were bald, he rubbed your head. He told jokes. He told jokes all day.
Wow.
And, I mean, here's a young man, 13 years old, that has been battling brain cancer now for a few years.
Right.
Has had some setbacks, but doesn't continue. I mean, he doesn't take to the bed and be sad. He wakes up every day, and he has a positive outlook, and he should be an inspiration to all of us of how he operates and feels he's blessed on day to day. And his father, what an amazing man, taking him all over the country to kind of get this wish fulfilled, and has gotten very involved in politics, obviously. And I think Texas Republicans want him to run against Jasmine Crockett, is what he told me yesterday. So I tried to encourage him as much as I can. We need good common sense people, and we need to get these far left radicals out of office. So hopefully he'll feel inspired to run for public office. So everybody say a prayer for DJ and his dad, because maybe we can finally get rid of Jasmine Crockett.
Well, it is his dad that they're talking about running, not DJ, right?
No, yeah, his father. Yeah,
I was like
a little
going,
young. 13 is a little young.
that's what I thought. I thought we had some rules about that. But anyways, that's cool. That's cool. Well,
Yeah, no, his father.
yeah. So, well, how goes the campaign, Pam?
The campaign is going really well. Lots of support continues to keep pouring in. And that's all we can ask for, right? I'm getting my message out. I'm going to allow everybody else to do their thing, but I'm going to talk about things that I know South Carolinians are passionate about. They want to know how we're going to keep them and their families safe. They want to know how we're going to continue to grow our economy, how we're going to cut taxes, how we're going to get rid of regulations, how we're going to make sure that every tax dollar they send to Columbia is being used wisely and it's not being met with any form of waste, fraud, and abuse. And that's the message I've been taking since I announced to the people of South Carolina, and that's the message I'll keep taking to them. And it must be resonating because I continue to get more and more support from around this great state.
Well, you certainly have a packed field going in there, Pam.
I know. We've had more people throw their hat in this week, but that's okay because, I can show how different I am from that pack because I'm not a career politician.
That's true.
I'm a business person who spent the majority of my life signing the front of paychecks, balancing budgets, creating jobs, understanding what it's like to start a business from the ground up, and how hard that can be if government gets too big and their overreach becomes too wide. And so that's what distinguishes me from the pack. I've sat in the executive branch in the private sector the majority of my life, and I've spent 7 years working alongside our great governor. And we have a great legacy here in South Carolina that needs to continue on, and that's what I plan on doing, is continuing on our legacy.
Well, yesterday I saw where Governor McMaster wants to redirect what items can be spent on SNAP, doing away with, some of the junk food.
And, that has been a movement, a MAHA movement. I think we had talked about when Secretary Kennedy was in South Carolina. I had about a 20-minute meeting with him before our event with Tim Scott, and we talked about his movement and how we need to get healthier food choices to our kids. Obesity is just rampant in our country.
Absolutely.
And we need to make sure that we give healthy food choices to them. And we can't through SNAP allow bad choices that on the back end we need to fix with Medicaid. And it makes sense. And, as a mom, I didn't allow my kids to, I didn't go to the grocery store and load them up with unhealthy foods. And I think sometimes if we're helping out, we need to do our part to make sure our kids are eating healthy. So once again, I'm so proud to stand with the governor on this initiative that he has going. And we see that it is actually taking off around the country. We've seen other governors in other states, work with SNAP benefits within their state to make sure that there are healthy options and we're not just feeding junk food to our kids.
Right. And no, I think it's a good thing. I think sometimes I'm going to be quite truthful. When you're standing in line and you're buying what you can buy with the money you have, and then you see somebody that has a SNAP card and they're buying all this other stuff, and you're going, how come? How come? I mean, as a person that stands in a grocery line still and watches this sometimes, It just really amazes you. So I think they should be better choices.
I'm with you on that too. And Secretary Kennedy was right. He points out very clearly, and he's been doing that health is getting worse and worse here in the United States. President Trump joining in this initiative with him, taking out chemicals from our foods, getting our foods to be cleaner. Heck, we saw that Coke Coca-Cola is going to be taking out, dyes from their soda drinks, and they're replacing everything with pure cane sugar. And so, this is kind of a movement that is really taking on, and it's a movement I think we should all embrace. Because if there's one thing we should all agree on, is that healthier Americans make for a stronger country, right? And so we should all be joining together on this. I was saying that when I was at the National Lieutenant Governors Association a few years ago, the only thing Democrats and Republicans could agree on is that childhood obesity was bad. And so I'm taking that as a sign that maybe this is something that both sides of the aisle can get behind, is keeping Americans healthy.
Oh, I think that's a good idea. What do you think about the presidential fitness test? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's great, but I don't think the things that we used to have to do, I couldn't do them. I know these kids today. I hope they're going to modernize the test. That's the one thing that I do hope.
I think it's good. I think it's again, sends up a signal from the top that we have to stay healthy. And, think about COVID. I mean, it got people back outside. It got, you couldn't find a bike in a store because everybody was now bike riding. And our state parks were packed. They were having to close off admission because they would fill up because people were hiking. And kayaking became a thing. You couldn't buy a kayak because people realized kind of what they were missing.
Right.
They kind of looked around and said, wow, I forgot how fun it is to be outside, to do things within nature. I feel better. I feel healthier. My kids sleep better. And we're getting the electronics out of their hands. And if there's another thing we should all agree on, is that putting electronics in children's hands, especially at a young age, research is showing overwhelmingly the negative impacts it's having on our toddlers. There's reports, like medical reports, saying between the ages of birth and 3 years old, you should never put an electronic device in your child's hands. From 3 years old to 5 years old, I think the recommended daily was less than 15 minutes a day should a child have an electronic in their hand. And then after that, it's called parenting, right? Like, we took away our kids' phones in the evening when it was time to go to bed, and we kept them in our hands when they were, in high school, and they didn't get smartphones. But that's a parenting choice. Right. And I think, we should look at the guidelines. For anybody who hasn't read the book An Anxious Generation, and you have children that have smartphones, please read it. Read it, get the audio book. Listen to it. This is not put out by phone companies or political officials. It's put out by doctors, and talking about the detrimental psychological effect it has on our youth, and especially teenage girls. And so, I encourage parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, if you have a child in your life that you love, take a peek at this. Listen to it, and let's start taking the advice from the data that's coming out. These phones, social media, all these things, they are not good for our children. And so that takes us full circle to the president. The president's setting the bar about let's get our kids healthy again. Let's get them eating healthy again. Let's get them outside. Let's make physical fitness a priority, because healthy kids make for healthy adults. Healthy adults make for a strong nation.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Now, I do need to ask you about the Palmetto pen. That is something you've come out with. You think we need a Palmetto pen? Is that a play pen, since we're talking about children? What are you talking about here?
So this is Palmetto. This is the Palmetto State's version of what Florida did with alligator Alcatraz. I was shocked how many people wanted us to join in that effort to make sure we were getting rid of dangerous illegals from our state. The One Big Beautiful Bill has funding for that. The president and his administration have come to red states and Republican governors asking for their help. We saw this week Indiana helping out Secretary Nome with another facility to hold illegals once they're caught. so that we can get them processed and back to their country of origin. And, the governor came out and said that we are looking at, what possible sites could be in South Carolina. And I'm encouraging that because President Trump got an overwhelming mandate from the people of this nation. He won the popular vote. He won the electoral vote. He won every swing state. And he ran based on the promise that he would keep our country safe. And he was going to do that by closing down our borders, both north and south, stopping dangerous illegals from sneaking into our country, bringing in fentanyl, trafficking humans. He was going to put a stop to it. And I think we all voted for that. South Carolinians overwhelmingly voted for President Trump and his agenda. And now he's asking us for our help. And I stand, as I always have, ready and willing to help the Trump administration.
So where would you like to put that Palmetto pin? I'm just kind of asking.
Well, what we want to do is we want to make it safe, and that's what we've seen with other states, keeping it far away from neighborhoods and, downtown areas. So that's why the governor is asked to look around for sites. We have jails that have been closed down. We have Army or, naval, actually military is the word I'm looking for, bases that are no longer being used. So, we're looking to see what would be a safe spot. And first and foremost, that's what this is all about. Keeping South Carolinians safe, making sure that as law enforcement and ICE continue to pick up. And, and there was an article that came out, I think Post and Courier pushed it out, that said here in South Carolina, pre-Trump, we picked up 100 illegals to return to ICE.
Okay.
They went through data collected since March. We're at 300. You can see the vast increase in that. One part of the article that I, want to focus on is that the Democrats put out this terrible narrative that, the president and his administration is reaching far and wide and they're not just targeting on dangerous illegals. That's not true because this article cited that not one person in that 300 that was arrested had no criminal record. All of them had criminal records. And so that just dispels this horrible rumor that the Democrats are trying to put out. And you see it. I mean, we saw it in LA. There was a raid of a Home Depot where ICE went in. This area is known to have MS-13 gang members in overwhelming numbers. And there, the mayor of LA stands with people that are known lawbreakers and then turns on ICE. And we, just another example of Democrats worrying more about their failed policies and clinging on to them than they are the people that elect them to keep them safe in their states. So, just another example of how do we help continue to make South Carolina safer and how do we work with the president hand in hand.
Well, I think that getting illegals out of here. Of course, the big question is what about illegals that have been here for years, and what about all the people that we have coming in to pick crops here in South Carolina? Where does that fall?
President Trump has said it from the beginning. There are people that have been here for years, but we can't turn a blind eye on the fact that they came into this country illegally. And if you really want to look at statistics, Ann, look at where Trump had the biggest amount of gained support in this last election. It was from legal immigrants that came to this country, who are not happy with what's been happening, who don't stand by this notion that anybody should be able to walk in and get in when they worked so hard and went through the channels. Now, President Trump and his administration have said, if you self-deport, go back to your country of origin, start filing the paperwork, you have a pathway to come back to the country. But we can never turn a blind eye on the fact that no other country, Ann, allows you to come in and do this.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, and I have friends that, over the years have said that they have businesses, they work for companies that have facilities in Mexico, and they have to jump through a ton of legal maneuvering to be able to get temporary work permits to go there and work for 30 days. If not, their companies would be heavily fined. They could be thrown in jail.
Right.
So, it's just, we are a country of laws. And when we get right down to it, that's what we need to focus on, is that we are either going to follow the laws or we're not. But, if I had to trust one person to come up with a plan to fix this issue that has just gotten out of control during the Biden administration, it's President Trump.
Absolutely.
And I think he's looking at this from all angles. But so I think his first priority, which he has been very clear about, is to let's get the ones out that are breaking the law. Let's get the ones out that are selling fentanyl. Let's get the ones out that are trafficking women and children. And then we'll keep moving down the pike after that. So.
Right. Now, what about people that come, though, to pick crops and everything? Because I do remember from several years ago, that was a big issue in having enough people to pick the crops. The peaches.
And trust me, Yep. I listen to our farmers, and we have a visa program that goes hand in glove with that. And I think, you've heard different lawmakers in D.C. talk about is that a program, that based on the needs of industry here should be expanded on. That's a legal way of getting people to help our farmers, right?
Right.
And they're vetted. That's the big thing, Ann. When people walk across the border, we have no idea what their intent is here and how they're getting to where they're going. But we do have a visa program that deals with agriculture that helps our farmers. And that is where we need to reach out to the federal government and find out how that needs to be expanded, because those people that are coming here have sponsors, they're vetted, we know while they're here, we know where they are, we know that they're here to do good work, and that's where we have to put our focus on.
Well, I agree. It's just, I know I can remember from several years having big discussions about that. So it's, and we still have lots of crops, and we still have expanding on that. What do you think? Do you think that any of the tariffs that President Trump has just been working with the EU and everything, do you see it as a boon for any of our farmers, ranchers here in South Carolina?
Absolutely. President Trump, when isn't just looking at manufacturing. He's been looking at our farmers. And if you look at, the tariff numbers that came out, under his first administration, he was trying to make a level playing field for our farmers. What they were exporting was getting so over-tariffed as opposed to what was coming into our country that it was an unfair advantage to farmers elsewhere. And so I do think it helps our farmers. I think it helps our logging community who, that has been stifled over the years just because of the closing of paper mills. President Trump, I think what people need to remember, and sometimes I have to remind myself this, he's only been in office for such a short time. 7 months is all he's been in office. I know. We just started August. And so he has done so much in just such a limited amount of time. I think he has a very comprehensive plan, and that's the difference between career politicians and business people. We have peripheral vision on how to get problems solved. We understand that you have to be able to walk and chew gum. You have to balance 10 balls in the air because that's what running a business is all about. That's what running a country is all about. And I have the ultimate confidence that President Trump, as his plans continue to move out, they will continue to help protect not just industry, but our farmers.
Yes. Now, what, just real quick, what is, there's been a lot of discussion lately about how we're going to bring the state's infrastructure, the roads, the bridges. God, there just was a bridge that collapsed up there in Pickens, and how we're going to get these roads. And I keep reading about how far behind we are and where we're rated in the states. And I know we keep throwing money at it, but what kind of plan can you bring that can resolve this issue once and for all?
Well, Anne, I say this to people, and I put it in perspective in something we can all relate to, right? Let's think of our own homes. If you have 20 rooms in your home, if you paint them one room at a time, by the time you get to that first room, what do you have to do? You got to paint it again, right? It's going to be the same thing with our roads. Roads are going to continuously have to work on. We're going to have to always focus on them, because as you finish the last one, the first one you start is probably going to need a little bit of work again. We need to make sure that we continue to inspect our bridges. If you've noticed, the governor and I in our executive budgets have put a ton of money asking the General Assembly to really focus on our bridges. And then, just like getting work done in your own home, you can only move as fast as the companies have slots for you to slot in. And that has become a big problem across our nation. South Carolina has more state-managed roads per capita than any state in the country, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
So DOT staying on top of that, but you can, I like to bring things down to where people go, okay, I get it, is if I hire somebody to remodel my bathroom and 100 other people hired him to remodel their bathroom, I got to wait in line till it's my turn. And that's what we see with our road crews too. Paving companies are working, and they're, nobody is starving for work, but there's only so many of them out there. You can only move as fast as they can get the other project done.
I guess that really is the bottleneck then, Pam. What can the state do about it? Or are you telling us there is nothing we can do about it? Because this, what was it, back in 2007, 2008, I think a lot of these paving companies went out of business, sold off equipment they weren't using because there was nothing being done. So how do we change that in today's world? Do we just have to say, well, we just have to deal with it? Or can the state be proactive in moving the needle and getting, I don't know, should we have our own paving companies? What should we do here?
Well, Anne, we should never throw up our hands and say enough is enough. But I think what happens is we are seeing more and more paving companies emerge because there's a need, right? And so, and we have to stay on top of being proactive like we've been. As we see, as money comes in, we hurry up and get RFPs out. The Department of Transportation has done a great job of doing that. You mentioned the bridge in Pickens County that collapsed. That bridge was already slotted for, and now has moved to the top of the list. And DOT is on top of it, getting it done. And so we never give up. We always look for solutions. Business people never throw their hands in the air and say, well, this is it. But I think it's now letting, like you said, when a lot of companies, slow down, sell off, it takes a little while for them to reemerge. And we're seeing more and more of them coming on the scene.
Well,
Anne, it is... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that it's an issue. I mean, even our gas tax is lower, which is great, but do we need more money to be able to do this? Should we as people put some more money in our gas tax?
So, I mean, you saw on a county level across the state, there were different counties were doing, roads taxes. Some of them passed, some of them didn't.
Right.
I think it just depends on, the people of that area. It's the beauty of voting and having a say. Do you think it's worth it, or do you not? And that's why those important issues go on the ballot, and everybody has the ability to chime in. And Anne, I'm going to have to end our call today because I'm at my first event.
Okay.
But that's how I want to end it. That's why it's important to stay informed, to get involved, and by God, to get to the polls and vote so that your voice and the things you feel are important can be heard.
Absolutely. And we've been talking to the next governor for the great state of South Carolina, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Thank you so much this morning.
And thank you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Have a good one, Pam. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that is the Lieutenant Governor for the great state of South Carolina. Will she make it to the governor for the great state of South Carolina? I certainly hope she will. I think she could be I think she is a good choice. I think she's put in the work. She knows everything behind the scenes. And I think as a business person, she is a terrific choice. She is a terrific choice. Other people may look at others as being a better choice, and that's what this race is all about. I do find it interesting that everybody is racing right now and they can't even sign up till March, but still, we do have a big field here, which means that some of them I'm sure are going to drop out before we even get to March when they can officially put their names in the hat. Right now, of course, we've got Lieutenant Governor, we've got Ralph Norman, we've got Nancy Mays, and Josh Kimbrell. Did I miss anybody? I might have. Oh, Alan Wilson. Oh, my goodness. I missed Alan Wilson, the Attorney General here for the great state of South Carolina. How will this all wash out? What is your opinion? Who do you think is going to end up as the governor? What do you think? Anybody want to make any predictions on what you think? Do you think we are going to? Is it going to be a squeaker? Is it going to be a surprise? Is Nancy Mace going to end up as the next governor for the great state of South Carolina? Does anybody believe that? Raise your hands if you do. Oh, I don't see anybody's hands up. I just was curious whether you thought that would be if that would be a possibility. Do you think that is a possibility? Well, if you do, I feel sorry for us in the state because that's one vote I don't think she ought to get. But that is the joy of having an election. That is the joy of being in politics, is watching it. I don't know about the state. I mean, I could argue we have all this money, and it does seem to me that it must not just be about the money. My question is, do we need to develop our own paving companies at this point? Maybe we get the equipment in here, and then maybe at the end of getting caught up, we have a mythology, because surely 20 years of doing nothing is caught us and could potentially, in my opinion, keep us from expanding our program here in businesses coming here to South Carolina. Roads, transportation, that is a big part of how things get moved. So I would like to see maybe a more definitive answer on that. Maybe there's not a definitive answer. I guess maybe that is the problem. But how do we make it? And that is a question I'll be asking each one of the candidates as they come on. How do we make it so that we can catch up? How have other states done it? Are we the only state that have let our roads and bridges go? Are we the only state? I can remember when Governor Nikki Haley was in office, that was one of her issues, and she was hot on the track of inspecting, knowing what bridges were going to need to be done and this type of thing. And since then, I know they have thrown a lot of money at it. But has it been money that has been well spent, and have they completed things? And the other thing, of course, is the time that it takes to do it. To pave 1 mile of road, a 2-lane road, some astronomical figure. It is just unbelievable. But then again, and there are some cities that have said we're going to go ahead and do our own paving and get our own city in shape because we want to be ready. There are other cities that say, no, this is the state's responsibility. Pamela is right. South Carolina, you may say, I don't believe it, but it is actually true. The number of state roads in South Carolina is huge. It's bigger than Texas, and you would think that Texas, with the size that would have it, but our state road system is huger than Texas and some of the other states that you just don't believe it. But I remember from doing deep dives on this that is actually true. Well, that was our conversation this morning with the Lieutenant Governor. She is out there every day plugging away, making sure that people know what she stands for, what she's about. We know that she stands with President Trump, and that is a good thing. And how she would wield that into something that is good for South Carolina is really the question, isn't it? How do we wield that into something that is good for South Carolina? All right. Well, that's a little bit about that. I think the changes on SNAP are a good thing. I don't know how long it'll take them to implement that, or will it be immediate? I don't know. I just saw his, I think it was a tweet he put out yesterday on where he stands, where the governor stands, McMaster stands on that. And it looks like, from what I read, that Marsha Blackburn is in no jeopardy of leaving the Senate if she doesn't make it for governor. Those people that are in a position that they do not have to give up, they're not out of time in their job, really are in the catbird seat. For example, David Stumbo can run for Attorney General. If for some reason he doesn't make it, he still has a job right here in Greenwood County. So he still would be the solicitor for our area. Those people that are in that position really are in what I would consider a catbird seat. There's no jeopardy. Now, other people like Pamela Evette, if she doesn't make governor, she is out of public office at that present time. So will be Attorney General Alan Wilson, as well Ralph Norman and Nancy Mace. Now, as far as the Nancy Mace and Ralph Norman, there are already people that are jumping into the race. I don't have much information on them, but there are also other people that are jumping into the race. So that's just a little information about what's going on. I do think this redistricting with Ralph Norman is a very interesting issue. And I would wonder, would this redistricting, when I get a chance to talk to him, would this redistricting do anything to other districts in South Carolina? Or is he just talking about Clyburn's district down there? Because there's been some questions about some of the districts, even up here in our area, how Abbeville, Greenwood, how those lines were drawn. So that would be Billy Garrett's district that covers all the way from Greenwood all the way down to Lexington and Saluda. Was I think a difficult size to deal with, and so I would be interested to see whether he's talking about a total redistricting, because how would you do that during a session? That's the other thing. You can do it on a federal level because they come up every 2 years, as does the our House representatives here in South Carolina. But think about the chaos it could actually cause for those that are in the Senate. Although they did do that, and when Senator Billy Garrett, for example, he was also for Lexington and also covering all of Greenwood and Abbeville and all this type of thing. Anyways, that's a discussion for another day. What are the main issues that we see for the governor of South Carolina? I think that is the question. What sets somebody apart who has been a politician versus somebody who is a business person? Is this role for somebody that has been a politician? You know, Henry McMaster was the Attorney General before Nikki Haley chose him as her vice lieutenant governor. And of course, he had actually been running for governor, and I think in that race he got defeated. Nikki won, and then in the next she chose him as her lieutenant governor. So we have interesting times. We have a lot to talk about. The thing with gun violence is the thing that is getting on my nerves as far as something to think about. It seems like every day there is something happening, and not only in places that are far, far and away, but even right here in our own community. With that up there in Ware Shoals, there had been another one, I think, last week. Sometimes they turn out to be something, sometimes they don't. You know, one of the things I hadn't heard anything about is does anybody have any information? What happened, and it's only because I haven't followed up on it, what happened with the armed robbery over there in Avondale? I'm not sure I saw anything. There may have been something, but I just hadn't, that just popped in my mind. There's another issue right here in our Greenwood area. Anyways, that's a few of the things that I know about that are going on. This afternoon, we are going to have a very great conversation with Dr. Santos, who is the bariatric surgeon. That's actually his first name. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. He's actually the bariatric surgeon over there at Self Regional. We're going to be talking about what is the process. They actually can use robotics with this. This is a cool procedure that they do over there. But what do you have to do to get yourself ready to be able to have that if you are a candidate? What qualifies you as a candidate? And after you have the surgery, what do you have to do to maintain the weight loss? I mean, after all, it is pretty radical what you do to your body by closing off and making your stomach smaller. And the question is, after, if you had a rubber band or whatever that they done closing off part of it, what happens after they remove that? Or can you stretch your stomach again? These are questions I want to know the answer. What do you do about all the extra skin of people that I've seen that have lost a huge amount of weight? But we are going to be talking with him, Dr. Santos. He is the bariatric surgeon over at Self Regional. That will be at 5 to 6 this afternoon. We also will be doing a quick interview this afternoon, sometime around 1 o'clock, right here on WCRS with Representative Sherry Biggs will be here in town, and she is coming by to see us right here at the studios, and we're supposed to go live for 15 or 20 minutes. Won't be on the radio, but it will be, we will be going Facebook Live with her for 15 or 20 minutes. That's why you need to follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook on WCRS /1450 AM. Make sure you sign up to get notifications. We're doing a lot more live work, in case you hadn't noticed. And we want to make sure that you know when we go live. So if you will follow us on your notifications, we will be going live this afternoon, somewhere around 1 o'clock. Didn't want to interrupt Clay and Buck. Thought that might be a problem. So we'll just go live on Facebook, and then we'll replay her interview on the radio. All right, that's going to do it for me. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that the weather does continue to keep us okay, and I hope the things that are happening out there are, oh my goodness, I hope we can get this thing, where was this at? My goodness, I was just reading a headline, at least 4 dead, 100 still missing after a flash flood caused by cloudburst washes out a tourist town. And this is in the Himalayan mountains in Darali, part of India, I guess. So that is going to be another huge story there. So, what do you say? I say, have a great day. I say, go see Hamlet. It opens tonight, up there at GCT. We had Nora Jones on yesterday. Well, we had Nora Jones, but did we have the Nora Jones you're thinking about? No. We had Nora Jones, who grew up right here in Greenwood, who is a senior at Belmont University, is getting her degree in directing. She is directing this play of Hamlet. It's about a 2-hour show. So go this evening. It opens at 7:30. Tonight is opening night. Thursday and Friday night, 7:30, and on Saturday, a 2 p.m. performance. They have worked very hard on this. This is a pay as much as you can to go see this and keep things rolling right there at Greenwood Community Theater. Enjoyed having Nora on yesterday and look forward to watching her progress as she graduates and goes on out into the world. Last thing I want to tell you on the weather. It looks like it's 70, feels like 70. We are headed to a high of 81. No real chance of any rain today, but we will drop down tonight to 67 degrees. Friday looks like we're going to come in with a high of 82, and partly cloudy skies in the morning will give way to cloudy skies during the afternoon, and a low of 66 degrees. Saturday, 85, and a low of 68. And Sunday, looks like some rain is going to come back in. High of 85, low of 69, and about a 45% chance of rain, as is Monday, with about a 50% chance of rain. I hope you all have a great day. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for me. I'll be back at somewhere around 1 o'clock live on Facebook, and then we will be back at 5 o'clock this afternoon with Dr. Santos, who is the bariatric surgeon over there at Self Regional. Should be a fascinating discussion. Really looking forward to it. Always learn so much when we do these. Have a great day. That's going to do it for us right here on WCRS Radio.